A very warm welcome to you wherever you might be tuning in from today. I sincerely hope this finds you in good health and high spirits.
Absolutely. It is lovely to have you with us.
We are absolutely thrilled you've chosen to spend a fair bit of your day with us right here on the Military Chessboard channel. Today, we are having a look at a question that is, quite frankly, dominating the global stage right now.
It really is.
What happens when the entire geopolitical chessboard of the Middle East is flipped overnight, affecting everything from global oil routes right down to the physical data centers that power our daily digital lives?
It's a profound question. And to help you unpack the answer, we need to take a very careful, clear-eyed look at the current situation on the ground. We've got a massive stack of urgent reports in front of us today.
A huge stack.
Exactly. Detailing a rapidly expanding conflict. This involves the United States, Israel, Iran, and multiple Gulf states. It is a situation moving at breakneck speed, and our mission in this deep dive is to help you cut through the noise and make sense of the big picture.
Spot on. We are going to walk through these developments step by step, keeping things straightforward. No confusing jargon, just the clear, factual picture. Because what we're looking at isn't just a random series of isolated military strikes.
Right.
When you take a step back and look at the whole board, it's a highly complex web.
It truly is. We are looking at a historic crisis in political leadership, shifting alliances across the entire region, and economic impacts that are already rippling across the globe. To truly grasp what's happening, you have to understand how all these seemingly separate pieces connect. The physical strikes are just the most visible part of a much deeper structural shift.
So let's get straight into it. The first major development we need to look at is a severe escalation of strikes on United States and coalition targets. Reports have emerged detailing an Iranian drone strike using uncrewed aerial vehicles directly targeting a central intelligence agency building.
And the location of that building is key.
Precisely. The critical detail here is that this building sits squarely within the United States Embassy compound in Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia. The reports coming in describe significant structural damage, including a collapsed roof and heavy smoke filling the compound. Understandably, the Central Intelligence Agency has completely declined to comment on this event so far.
That silence is very typical for the agency. But if these reports are entirely accurate, the reason behind this strike is fascinating. For Tehran, striking a Central Intelligence Agency facility located inside an American embassy compound, and doing so in Saudi Arabia, no less, would serve as an immensely symbolic victory.
Massive statement.
Exactly. It's a very clear message to the world. They are demonstrating their capability to reach heavily guarded, high-value targets across international borders.
Yeah.
It changes the perceived calculus of what is and isn't a safe zone.
It shatters that illusion of safety completely.
Yeah.
And that single event in Riyadh was not an isolated incident. There has been a highly coordinated series of retaliatory strikes aimed directly at United States military infrastructure spread across the region.
If we look at Bahrain, for instance, there's commercial satellite imagery from a company called Planet Labs, taken on the 1st of March. Looking at those images from space, you can clearly see that 2 radar domes and a massive warehouse have been entirely destroyed at the United States Navy's 5th Fleet Base.
When you lose radar domes and warehousing on a naval base of that scale, you're looking at a severe degradation of operational infrastructure. And moving geographically over to Kuwait, the situation was similarly intense. The Ali Al Salem Air Base was targeted by a combination of heavy missiles and suicide drones.
Right.
We've been reviewing photographs captured by a Chinese firm called Mizav Vision, and they show massive columns of thick black smoke rising into the sky. That smoke appears to be billowing directly from the base's crucial fuel storage facilities.
Which is the absolute lifeblood of any airbase. You ground the planes if you hit the fuel. To add to the gravity of that, the Italian Foreign Minister, Antonio Tajani, publicly stepped up and confirmed that the runway at this Kuwait base sustained very significant damage. It is genuinely staggering when you consider the sheer geographic spread of this campaign. Which brings us to Qatar, and specifically the Al Udeid base. Just to give you some context, Al Udeid is the largest United States military garrison in the entire Middle East. It serves as the main headquarters for the United States Central Command.
It's quite literally the nerve center for American military operations in the region. Because of its massive strategic importance, Al Udeid is protected by a remarkably dense, multi-layered air defense system. This includes highly advanced Patriot missile batteries operated by both the United States and Qatari military forces.
Incredible defenses.
But despite that incredibly sophisticated defensive shield, a missile did manage to breach the perimeter and hit the base. Now, fortunately, in this specific instance, there were no casualties reported.
The fact that a missile made it through those overlapping layers of Patriot systems is something military analysts will be studying for years. It shows how saturated these defense systems are becoming. But while Al-Udeid was fortunate, the broader human toll of this conflict is deeply saddening.
It is a sobering picture, and sadly, there is a very real human cost here. The United States Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, had to make a solemn admission. He confirmed that an Iranian missile managed to completely breach the American air defenses and struck a reinforced operations center located at the Swai port in southern Kuwait.
Tragic news.
It is. Tragically, this strike resulted in the deaths of 6 United States soldiers.
It is a stark reminder of the ultimate price paid during these massive geopolitical shifts. And while the United States and its coalition partners have been frantically managing these defensive situations, trying to keep their shields up, we are simultaneously seeing an unprecedented offensive campaign being launched by Israel.
That is a crucial pivot, because the momentum goes both ways here. On the 4th of March, the Israel Defense Forces made a major public announcement. According to their spokesperson, Brigadier General Efed, Israeli fighter jets conducted a series of highly precision-guided strikes. Their target was a secret, deeply underground facility known as Minjad, located near the Iranian capital, Tehran. The Israeli military claims this facility has been completely destroyed.
To really understand the significance of the Minjad facility, we need to trace this back to an event from last June, a major military campaign known as Operation Rising Lion. According to the intelligence released by Israel, following that operation, Iran made the strategic decision to move the core of its nuclear weapons development program deep underground to this very Minjad complex.
Right, to hide it.
Exactly. The goal, according to Israel, was to bury these operations beneath enough rock and concrete to hide them from potential airstrikes.
Now, it is so important that we present the context fairly from all sides here. The United States and Israel have formally and repeatedly accused Iran of enriching uranium to levels that have absolutely no civilian application. They also accused Tehran of significantly expanding their ballistic missile capabilities.
Yes.
Iran, on the other hand, strongly and consistently insists that its nuclear program is strictly for peaceful, civilian energy and research purposes. We are just sharing the reports from both sides with you.
Regardless of those conflicting statements, the sheer undeniable scale of Israel's current military campaign is something we have rarely witnessed in modern history. Over a period of just 4 days, the Israeli Air Force dropped more than 4,000 bombs. They flew approximately 1,600 combat missions, which are known in military terms as sorties.
Those numbers are truly hard to wrap your head around. To put it into perspective for you, the Israeli military used more munitions in those 4 short days than they did during the entirety of the 12-day Operation Rising Lion last year. It is a massive escalation of force.
It really is.
And alongside striking that underground nuclear facility, they have also been systematically hunting down and destroying Iranian ballistic missile launchers across the country. Reports indicate they have managed to destroy around 300 of these mobile launchers so far.
That is a highly systematic effort to degrade Iran's ability to launch the very types of missiles that have been striking the bases in Kuwait and Qatar that we discussed just a moment ago. It's a campaign designed to remove the pieces from the board. But this offensive hasn't just been about destroying military hardware in concrete bunkers.
No, it hasn't.
We are also seeing what are being described by analysts as decapitation strikes, which are leading to a profound historic leadership vacuum in Iran.
And that systematic destruction of leadership could fundamentally alter the region's future far more than the hardware losses. There are reports that Israel utilized highly precise intelligence to strike a very specific, heavily guarded building in the city of Qamma. This building isn't a military base. It serves as the formal headquarters for the Assembly of Experts.
For those who might not be familiar, the Assembly of Experts is a completely crucial institution within the Iranian government system. It is a deliberative body composed of 88 senior Shia clerics. Their primary constitutional duty, really their most vital function, is to elect the new supreme leader when the position becomes vacant. And they were gathered in this building specifically because of the reported death of the current supreme leader, Ali Khamenei.
The situation on the ground regarding the strike on that building is still a bit murky. Unverified sources from within the region have claimed there were heavy casualties among the gathered clerics. However, the Iranian state-affiliated Fars news agency released a statement claiming that the building was actually completely empty at the exact time the strike occurred.
Yet, even if we assume the building was entirely empty and no clerics were harmed, The psychological and administrative disruption to the country is immense. The Assembly of Experts was forced to resort to meeting virtually, over video calls, on the 3rd of March to address this sudden succession crisis.
Just imagine that pressure.
Think about it. They are tasked with making the single most important political decision in the country's recent history, all while under active, looming military threat.
And the race to become the new supreme leader is highly complex and fraught with internal tension. The leading candidate right now appears to be Mojtaba Khamenei. He is 56 years old, and he is the son of the reported late supreme leader, Ali Khamenei.
The internal power dynamics supporting Mojtaba are genuinely fascinating. He is heavily backed by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. This is the most powerful, well-funded military and security organization within Iran. Their argument for backing him is quite straightforward. The country is in the middle of a severe existential security crisis, and Mojtaba has the vital, hardline security experience needed to navigate the nation through it.
But elevating him comes with massive, almost unprecedented risks. If Mojtaba is named supreme leader, it could immediately make him a direct, high-value target for both the United States and Israel. Furthermore, there's a severe risk of a massive public backlash from the Iranian people.
Very true.
You have to remember the foundation of their republic. Many citizens might view a son simply taking over power from his father as the establishment of a hereditary monarchy. That goes completely against the foundational principles of the 1979 revolution.
Precisely. It is a constitutional tightrope. That is exactly why the Assembly is also carefully considering alternative candidates. You have finalists like Alireza Arafi, who is a prominent Islamic scholar, and Saeed Hassan Khamenei. Saeed Hassan is a particularly interesting figure because he is widely viewed as a moderate.
A very different choice.
Absolutely. He has deep established ties to reformist political groups that have been largely marginalized by the hardliners in recent years. Choosing him would signal a very different direction for the country.
There are definitely differing viewpoints on what a Mojtaba leadership would actually look like in practice, too. We have a rather controversial, thought-provoking view from an Iranian politician named Abdolreza Davari. He argues that Mojtaba could actually surprise people and act as a reformer. He even went so far as to compare him to Saudi Arabia's crown prince, Mohammed bin Salman, suggesting Mojtaba might aggressively restructure the traditional power systems from the inside out.
It is a very bold comparison, and it highlights just how deeply uncertain the future of Iranian leadership really is right now. This uncertainty isn't just a domestic issue. It is being watched incredibly closely by the international community. From Washington, President Donald Trump released a public statement in March. He noted that many potential Iranian leaders have already been killed in the ongoing strikes.
And he offered a warning, didn't he?
He did. He issued a stark warning about a worst-case scenario, where a power vacuum allows a leader who is even more antagonistic and unpredictable to take control of the country.
The ripple effects of this profound uncertainty, combined with the ongoing military strikes, are being felt acutely by every single neighbor in the region. The Gulf states are raising their defensive shields. Everyone is on high alert. Saudi Arabia, for instance, has publicly and firmly vowed to take all necessary measures to protect its sovereignty, following that drone attack on the United States Embassy in Riyadh we discussed earlier.
And the diplomatic response has been just as severe and immediate as the military one. The United States Department of State has issued sweeping mandatory orders to evacuate all non-essential personnel and their families from Kuwait, Bahrain, Iraq, Qatar, Jordan, and the United Arab Emirates. Going even further, they have strongly advised all private American citizens to leave over a dozen countries across the Middle East immediately.
But following that advice and actually getting out has proven incredibly difficult for everyday people. With the escalating conflict, much of the airspace over these countries has been completely closed to commercial flights for safety reasons. This has unfortunately left a very large number of civilians stranded at airports, unable to find a safe route home.
It is an absolute logistical nightmare for those families caught in the middle. And the evacuations aren't limited just to the United States. Israel has also had to secretly evacuate parts of its own diplomatic missions located in Abu Dhabi and Dubai within the United Arab Emirates.
That evacuation wasn't just a precaution. It followed a very specific, terrifying threat. Israeli officials reported that their intelligence agencies successfully thwarted 2 separate, concrete terror plots. These plots, which they state were backed directly by Iran, were aimed squarely at assassinating their diplomatic staff working in the United Arab Emirates.
Which brings us to the incredible, almost unimaginable pressure currently being placed on the United Arab Emirates. They are caught in a very difficult geographical and political position. According to the United Arab Emirates Ministry of Defense, their sovereign territory has been targeted by over 800 uncrewed aerial vehicles, drones, and more than 200 missiles since this conflict expanded.
That is a staggering amount of fire in the sky. There was actually a prominent report from the news outlet Axios recently suggesting that the United Arab Emirates was considering officially joining the military strikes against Iran in retaliation for these incursions. However, the government of the United Arab Emirates firmly and officially denied this report through the Emirates news agency.
A very firm denial.
Very firm. They reaffirmed their official stance, stating clearly that they are not a party to this war and will absolutely not allow their territory, their airspace, or their waters to be used by any nation to launch attacks against Iran. Though they made sure to emphasize strongly that they firmly retain their international right to self-defense if fired upon.
That is a remarkably delicate diplomatic tightrope they are walking. They have to project strength and protect their citizens and their vital infrastructure without getting formally dragged into a full-scale regional war that would devastate their economy. And speaking of protecting infrastructure, the economic implications of this conflict are massive, reaching far beyond the Middle East.
Absolutely. The conflict is threatening the global economy in ways that affect everyone listening to this, specifically concerning global oil supplies and modern digital infrastructure. Let's look at the Strait of Hormuz first. For those who might not have looked at a map of the region recently, this is a very narrow strategic waterway situated between the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. It is arguably the single most vital artery for the entire world's oil supply. A huge percentage of the energy that powers the globe floats through that narrow gap.
Because of the escalating conflict, Iran has openly threatened to blockade the Strait of Hormuz, effectively choking off that energy supply. In direct response to this threat, President Donald Trump issued an executive order to secure maritime trade through this critical area. He directed a government agency, the United States International Development Finance Corporation, to step in.
To provide guarantees.
Yes. Their mandate is to provide political risk insurance, as well as massive financial guarantees for commercial shipping companies operating their vessels there.
And they are backing up those financial guarantees with the promise of physical military force. It was announced that the United States Navy is fully prepared to physically escort commercial oil tankers as they travel through the Strait of Hormuz. When the Navy has to escort merchant ships, that shows you exactly how grave the threat to the global energy supply has become.
Indeed. It is a flashback to the tanker wars of the past. But as we consider the massive macroeconomic impacts, we must always anchor ourselves back to the human cost, which continues to mount tragically across multiple borders. The figures we have compiled from the reports are deeply troubling. Reports indicate 787 people have died in Iran as a direct result of the airstrikes. In Israel, 11 people have been killed by incoming missile attacks.
The tragedy extends much further across the map. Following the involvement of the Hezbollah organization, 52 people have died in Lebanon. Furthermore, there have been 3 fatalities reported in the United Arab Emirates, and 1 person has died in Bahrain. We share these numbers solemnly with you, simply as a reminder of the stark, heartbreaking reality on the ground for the everyday people living in this region.
It is a devastating toll, and our thoughts are with all those affected. Now, while the human cost is always the most profound tragedy of any conflict, this particular war is also causing disruptions in ways that are entirely modern and, frankly, quite fascinating from a technological standpoint.
You are talking about the cloud data centers. This is a detail from the reports that really caught my attention because it brings the conflict right into our living rooms. The massive global technology company, Amazon, has been forced to mandate that all of its office staff across the entire Middle East work remotely from home. This unprecedented decision was made after 2 of Amazon's massive data centers located in the United Arab Emirates were physically hit by drones.
Furthermore, a 3rd Amazon data center located in Bahrain sustained heavy damage from nearby military strikes and had to be taken completely offline. Now, when we talk about the cloud, where all our digital photos, our banking records, our emails, and our business documents are stored, we often think of it as some invisible thing floating in the sky. But the cloud is actually composed of massive physical buildings filled with rows and rows of air-conditioned computer servers.
Exactly. The internet is physical. And when those physical buildings in the Middle East are threatened or destroyed by a military conflict, the ripple effects are felt digitally by businesses, hospitals, and everyday individuals all over the world who rely on those specific servers to keep their lives running.
It truly illustrates how deeply interconnected our modern world has become. A physical bomb dropped in one hemisphere can immediately, in a fraction of a second, disrupt the daily digital lives and economies of people sitting safely in another hemisphere. The boundaries of war have expanded into the digital infrastructure we all share.
That is incredibly well said, and it really brings home why this matters to all of us. That brings us to the end of the immense stack of reports we have to share with you today. Let's take a quick moment to summarize the key takeaways we have covered in this deep dive. We are witnessing a rapidly widening, highly volatile conflict drawing in the United States, Israel, and Iran, alongside severe, immediate impacts on the Gulf states.
We have examined the historic leadership crisis currently unfolding in Tehran, following the reported death of their supreme leader, and how that power vacuum is creating dangerous unpredictability. We have seen how Gulf states are urgently raising their defensive shields and trying to navigate incredibly complex diplomatic pressures. And finally, we have looked at the very direct threats this conflict poses to both the global oil supplies that fuel our economies and the physical infrastructure of our modern digital world.
It is a lot of incredibly dense, heavy information to take in, and we sincerely hope we have helped you see how all these pieces fit together on the global board.
I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder as you go about your day. We always tend to think of war in terms of lines on a map borders, military bases, and troop movements. But when a physical drone strike in the Middle East takes an international cloud data center completely offline, it forces us to ask a very modern question. Are we entering an era where regional geographic conflicts instantly and unavoidably become global digital crises?
That is a brilliant question and exactly the kind of thing we want you to be thinking about. We don't just want to talk at you, we want to hear from you. If you have your own perspective on these massive geopolitical shifts or thoughts on that final question about digital crises, we would absolutely love to hear it. Please take a moment to hit the like button, drop a comment down below with your thoughts, and make sure you subscribe to the Military Chessboard channel so you never miss one of our deep dives. Thank you so much for trusting us with your time and your attention today. We wish you a truly wonderful day ahead. Take care of yourselves, and we will see you next time.